Thank you all. Have a seat. Now, a few weeks ago, we had the big Super Bowl. Of course, we had a marvelous time at the Gibsons. But back in the 60s, when it was just getting started, now that's the 1960s, kids. Long time ago. Yes, I know. I was born that decade. It was a very good decade. The world changed that decade. But in that decade, Vince Lombardi, the coach of the Green Bay Packers forever, he won the first two Super Bowls. Well, I mean, his team won, but he guided them. Well, there's a great story about Vince Lombardi, and they were, I don't know who they were playing, but the Green Bay Packers were playing somebody. They had their cheese heads on and all that, and they were doing horrible. They were like missing every block, they missed every tackle, they couldn't catch anything. It was like they didn't even know what game they were playing. So during halftime, the assistant coaches thought that Coach Lombardi would come out and do the X's on the board to make some complicated plays and come out with some new defensive moves or something like that. This is why he's Vince Lombardi. He took a football, which I looked for one this morning. All I've got is basketball because I'm from Kentucky, so it wouldn't work. But imagine I'm holding a football. And he said, "Gentlemen, this is a football, and it's time you get back to basics." And he went through the rudimentary things that you do with high school freshmen on a football team: blocking, tackling, throwing, catching the football. See, he knew that you have to get back to basics if you're really going to play the right game. He knew you have to know the foundational thing that is what everything else is built on. And I think we need to do this in our Christian faith. We got to get back to some basics. And the reason, hold on, I got to take a drink and it's hard with the mic. See, I think, look at the cover of your bulletin, just so you don't miss it. I think we got to get back to basics because that's the foundational thing in every world religion, like Reverend Tracy was saying. On that cover is this marvelous picture that a friend of ours in the church got us that celebrates some of the primary world religions' version of the Golden Rule. Now, quit reading and listen. I know you people, yeah. Why is that the basics? Because it's really the basic thing we have to do to not just be Christian, but to be human beings. We are humankind. We need to be both human and kind. Regardless of where we come from, what we believe, it's the basic thing we must do to truly live, to survive as a species, to thrive as God's people. Do to others as you would have them do to you. I mean, you cannot get much more basic than that. And yet, I'm going to be honest with you, it seems like we've lost that basic principle. I want us to, we're going to rehearse a minute some of the range of entertainment that you and I have at our disposal. Because we have more channels now than we know what to do with, right? There's a late night entertainer that advertises, I saw it last night, a segment on mean tweets. Mean tweets. The highest grossing movies are about destruction and war. And then there's TGIT, Thank God It's Thursday, on our ABC channel. Ms. Kim and I record those programs, and yes, we watch them, so I'm talking to myself too. But think of the titles on Thank God It's Thursday. Think of the titles: Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. Isn't it ironic that we invoke God and yet then consume hours waters of destruction, ugliness, corruption, and killing. Thank God it's Thursday. Really? Our civil discourse has ceased to be civil. And instead of an honest discussion on difficult issues that affect our lives and we must figure out, it's a contest to see who can be meaner, nastier, uglier, more vulgar, more disrespectful, more divisive. We say we're God's people, and yet we forget the basics of what that claim is supposed to mean on our lives. And whether it's in our public lives or private conversations, it seems like we're just intent on tearing each other down rather than building each other up. That song that David just sang, I Stand for Love. Do we? Do we? Let's honestly, and I'm not going to make you announce it out loud, I'm just going to let you stew in it yourself. I want you to reflect on how we treat those in our lives. How do we treat our children, our parents, our partners and spouses, our friends, our neighbors? How do we treat our employees and our supervisors? How do we treat our fellow church members? How do we treat the folks that stand in the line for our food pantry and soup kitchen? How do we treat our store clerks and cleaning ladies? Our postal carriers, our hairdressers? In other words, how do we treat those around us? Now, those are the ones we know and have a name for. What about those we don't know? We just sort of clump them together and we put them under negative stereotypes and assuming titles that we know them. We love to do this, don't we? We always give them a definitive article. The homeless, the Muslims, the gays. And listen, if you don't know all of us gay folks are all different, then you haven't hung out with Russ and Peter and me enough. We're all different. You cannot clump us. We do this often, the mentally ill, the drug abusers, the poor, the rich, the immigrants, the illegals, which I hate. Nobody's illegal. They might be undocumented, but they're not illegal. The blacks, the whites. We forget to mention the browns. We just sort of look those over. We just clump them all under the Mexicans, like they don't have a whole variety of cultures in the browns. And then you could just fill in your own, the blank, anyone we disagree with. And you notice, I say we, because we're all guilty of this, me too. For some reason, we feel we must cut down others so we feel better about ourselves. What is that? And by the looks of it, doing unto others what we want them to do unto us means we think very little of our own worth. If we treat others like we want to be treated, then we don't think we deserve very good treatment, do we? By all appearances, the value we place on our own lives is small too. And in case you think this is just a 2016 modern problem, Isaiah knew it was to be so. Isaiah knew that the state of our world depended on how we treat one another. I loved how Leslie read it. If you remove the yoke from among you, meaning that thing that weighs down on people, the titles, the judgments, the stereotypes, that's a yoke that we put on people. the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, Isaiah writes. If you can get rid of that, then your light will shine. God will guide you. You will have your needs in parched places satisfied. And see, it's not then just about us, how I will feel. Did you see what he goes? Then your ancient ruins will be rebuilt. You shall raise the foundations of every generation. You shall be called the repairer of the breach. Because of how you treated others. You can fix the big divide if you reach out to the one next to you, if you treat them with respect. Now, I assume my mother knew Isaiah, but she used to say it like this. This is very popular in the South. And she actually watches. So, Mama, I'm quoting you again. Turn your hearing aids up so you can hear me. My mother used to say it like this. Be nice to the elevator operator. They will get you to the top. Now, Mia, the elevator operator, because I know you're only 16, the elevator operator, John Carlos, listen to this, okay? In the elevators, you know those big boxes that go up and down, right? We have one back there. Well, it used to be somebody had to get you up there. They had to actually manually push the buttons, and it wouldn't just be a machine doing it. They had to, and they always they had a little hat on, a Lysol vest, and they sat in a little chair in the corner. Who remembers that? Yeah, the elevator operator. This is a history lesson, friends. Mark Anthony, you can learn from this. Be nice to the elevator operator. They will get you to the top. Now, that doesn't mean using people. It means treating everyone. If we treat everyone nice and with respect, we will all rise to a better place. That's what it means to be repairers of the breach. Now, being nice doesn't mean being a wimp. I think people forget that. If you're strong, well, you can't be. No, that's nonsense. Being nice doesn't mean caving on what you believe. Being nice means treating others like you want to be treated. Aretha Franklin had to spell it out for us. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me because of what it means to you. Respect. I put a quote in the bulletin. It says, respect for ourselves guides our morals. Respect for ourselves guides our morals. Respect for others guides our manners. Respect for others guides our manners. Maybe that's what we're missing. Treating others with respect. It doesn't mean becoming them, agreeing with them. Hey, you're here. Hi, buddy. Get on in here. We got room for you right down here up front. This is Saeed Mohammed. He's going to do our call to prayer downstairs. Hi, buddy. How are you? I'm right in the middle of a fantastic sermon, so have a seat. We'll be done in a minute. How are you? Welcome. You are always welcome here. Treating others with respect doesn't mean becoming them or even agreeing with them. It means, how would you want to be treated if you were in that situation? This is the basics. This is like you don't get any more of the basics of Jesus than this. And if we want this symbol to mean anything come Easter morning, if we want the new life of Easter morning, we must overcome that barrier to the cross. We must learn respect. We must live respect. And so today we'll have a chance to practice. We've invited our friends from Al-Aziz Islamic Center, the Bridgeport Islamic Community Center. We got a few Jews coming from B'nai Israel Synagogue. just to keep things spicy. And they are going to engage with us in a sacred conversation on religion. We're going to eat together, because that is what kinfolks do. These are our long-lost cousins, and we need to get along better. We're going to have a nice, beautiful program, meaningful. We're going to have conversation with one another at our tables. And I want you to do like you did before. Remember when we invited Bethel AME, the African American church, in? Just set a few of you at each table and leave chairs. So when our Muslim and Jewish friends get here, they have a place to sit and we mix and mingle. I don't want you just talking to yourself. This is a sacred conversation with people who are in our family. And we need to get along better. And if you're nervous and if you're scared, you can come sit next to me. There's nothing nervous or to be scared about. Our friends that are coming to visit today want the same things we do. We want to stand for love and peace. So please don't clump together, Christians over here, Muslims over there. Open your arms, open your hearts. Show them that not all Christians fear or hate them. That is their perception. Friends, we must do better. We must do better. And today we're going to do our part to start that conversation with love and respect, because we know how to spell it, right? R-E-S-P-E-C-T, I think. Now, we also have students from my UB Interfaith Campus Ministry. They're from all over the world. Hindus and Muslims and Unificationists and a Sikh. And if you don't know what Sikhism is, you better stay for lunch. We might even have a few folks there that don't believe anything. Okay. We're going to have Episcopalians from Lynn Trousey's study group that's finally teaching the good Congregational some Bible. Good. We're going to have the reigning champion of the World Poetry Slam competition come from Yale University today. She's from Darfur. You do not want to miss her. We're having God's Village come to our house for lunch. Now, we're not going to become a Hindu or a Jew or a Muslim. We have a faith. And when we work our faith, it works for us. That's how it works. Just like Saeed's works for him, and in a beautiful way. But we are intent about building bridges between our peoples, about getting to know the other by knowing their names. And we have a friend in the church who's got his all name tags, because I bet you don't even know all of us. We're going to build bridges by replacing stereotypes with people's faces. We're going to learn rather than remain ignorant. We're going to welcome the stranger and we're going to make them our friend. By listening, by sharing. These are our spiritual kinfolk. And we're going to learn how Abraham is the one that binds us together. That the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians worship the same God in a different way, in a different language, but the same one God. It's about respect. And another thing my mother always said, so let's work on this, shall we? It doesn't cost a thing to be nice. In fact, it will make you rich. May that be so, friends. And may we begin.